Welcome back to the deep dive. We're here again to cut through the noise and get to what really counts.
Yeah, glad to be here.
So think about when you pick up a cannabis product. You see that label, right? Tested for safety, high potency. Maybe you glance at that certificate of analysis, the COA, and you probably just, well, trust the numbers. It seems official.
It's natural. We're kind of conditioned to trust those documents.
But what if those neat little numbers are telling a story that's maybe not the whole truth?
Exactly.
Today, we're really getting into something critical but often overlooked, cannabis testing. High stakes, low standards.
It's a big one because, look, cannabis testing should be about protecting you, the consumer. That's the whole point, right?
Safety, potency, accuracy.
Its job is to make sure what you're buying is clean and the label is honest. But, well, the nug source material we're digging into, it paints, frankly, a more worrying picture.
Okay.
So our mission today is to unpack these flaws, the loopholes that are kind of riddling the system right now.
So by the end, you'll know what you're really looking at with a COA.
Yeah, and why those numbers might not be as solid as they look.
And this isn't just, numbers on paper. This is about what you're actually consuming.
Your money, your choices.
Your health, even. It really comes down to trust in the industry.
It absolutely does.
Okay, so let's peel back that first layer then. Where does this whole issue begin? It seems like it starts right at the very beginning with what actually gets tested.
It does. It starts with what Nugnotes calls the cherry-picked nugs problem. It's pretty descriptive.
Cherry-picked nugs, okay.
So imagine you've got a grower with a big batch, maybe 50 pounds of flour. Huge amount.
Yeah.
Instead of testing a truly random bit, labs often get these tiny hand-selected samples. We're talking maybe 1 to 3 grams of flour.
Wow, that's it for a 50-pound batch?
Right, or like a single gram vial if it's a concentrate. And these aren't just random grams.
Yeah.
No, they're often the absolute best looking, like the frostiest top colas or the cleanest bit of oil chosen specifically by the producer.
Ah, okay. So they're putting their best foot forward. Way forward.
Exactly. This tiny, perfect sample becomes the face for that entire 50 pounds. So the bias is baked in right from the start. It just skews the numbers immediately, makes the whole batch look better than it probably is.
It's like judging the whole harvest by the one prize-winning pumpkin.
Precisely. That's a good way to put it.
So if they can basically, stage the samples they send in, does that problem carry over into the official compliance testing, too? Where the lab is supposed to pick randomly?
Yeah, that's the next logical question. And unfortunately, yes, the bias can definitely creep in there, too. This gets into something called pre-pack gaming.
Pre-pack gaming.
So in theory, for compliance, the lab guys are meant to show up and randomly grab units from the batch. Sounds good, right?
Sounds random.
But the source points out some producers only pre-pack the really nice stuff, the show jars, basically.
Yeah.
They make sure only the best-looking units are even available for the lab to choose from.
So the lab thinks it's random selection.
Right. But if only the A-plus grade stuff is presented, then random isn't random at all.
Okay, gotcha.
So the absolute best gets tested, gets those great numbers, and then maybe the rest of the batch, which might not be quite as good, ships out based on those top-tier results.
Wow. It's like a loophole in the randomness itself.
It really is. It undermines the whole idea of verification.
That's pretty wild. So the results are kind of compromised before they even run the tests. But I guess that's not the end of it.
No, not at all.
What happens once that sample, maybe a cherry-picked one, maybe from a show jar, actually gets to the lab? Are the numbers they generate always straight, or is there wiggle room there too?
Oh, absolutely. Once it's in the lab, the source material shows how the numbers themselves can be, let's say, massaged.
Okay, yeah.
Well, one quiet but really effective method is moisture manipulation.
Moisture, like water content.
Exactly. It's basic science, right?
Yeah.
Water has weight. So if a sample is drier, the cannabinoids make up a higher percentage of the total weight.
Because there's less water weight diluting it.
Precisely. So less water equals higher potency by weight. Now here's the kicker. Many COAs just skip moisture reporting altogether.
They don't even list moisture level.
Often, no. Which means the exact same flower could test at, say, 20% THC if it has normal moisture, but if they dry it out more before testing...
It could test higher, like 22, 23%.
Easily. It appears more potent on paper than in reality without actually having any more active compounds.
Wow. That directly affects the price, what you think you're getting.
Totally. It's a fundamental piece of data that's just missing. It obscures the real potency.
Okay, so drawing it out can boost the numbers. That's sneaky.
Mm.
What about the actual math they use to calculate things like total THC? Are there math hacks there too?
Yeah, that's another area Nugnotes points out. The math should be objective, right? There's a standard formula for total THC.
I think I've seen it. It involves THCA.
Right. It's THCA by 0.877 plus THC. That 0.877 accounts for the weight loss when THCA converts to active THC. Pretty specific.
Seems straightforward.
It should be. But the source says labs don't always stick to it rigidly. They might round up really generously.
Like 19.6% becomes 20%.
Or even 19.2% maybe becomes 20%, depending on their policy. Or they might skip decimals in reporting, or maybe quietly use slightly inflated conversions.
Yeah. Little tweaks.
Little tweaks, but the impact isn't little. Think about it. A single percentage point here or there turns into marketing gold.
Yeah, that's the difference between premium and standard shelf placement, maybe.
Exactly. It lets producers advertise higher numbers, maybe charge more, even if the actual difference is negligible or manufactured by the math.
It's like creative accounting, but for cannabis potency.
That's a pretty good analogy, actually.
So, okay, we've got bias samples from the start, then we've got moisture tricks and math games in the lab. It really makes you wonder, how widespread is this stuff? How does it become a systemic issue across the industry?
Well, this leads us to a really big systemic problem. Lab shopping.
Lab shopping sounds like what it is.
It pretty much is. The way the market is set up right now actually kind of rewards these looser practices.
How so?
Producers wanting the absolute highest numbers will often send the same batch to multiple labs.
Oh, interesting.
And then they just publish the highest result they get back.
And ignore the lower ones?
Yep. Just pretend they didn't happen. Now, think about the incentive that creates for the labs themselves.
Yeah, the labs that give the higher numbers get the business.
Exactly. Labs that are really strict, that refuse to round up, that report moisture accurately, they risk losing business to labs that are, well, more flexible.
So the market actually pushes towards the labs with the loosest standards.
Pretty much. The market rewards the loosest standards. It completely flips the purpose of testing, which is supposed to be about accuracy and safety, not marketing.
That's a perverse incentive, like you said. It punishes the honest labs.
It does, and it leaves you, the consumer, with results that are potentially inflated and fewer labs you can really trust.
It paints a pretty stark picture. There's just a few bad actors, but maybe a whole system pushing in the wrong direction. But, like, is there solid proof this is happening? Or is it just, industry gossip complaints?
Oh, there's proof. The enforcement receipts, as Nugnotes puts it, are definitely there.
Enforcement receipts, meaning regulators have caught labs doing this.
Absolutely. The source specifically mentions cases from Nevada to Oregon. So different states, same problems where regulators have busted labs for things like inflating THC by 10% plus density.
Wow, 10%.
Yeah, or completely skipping pesticide screens, or even outright falsifying data, just making it up.
Good grief.
These aren't just rumors. The fact that labs face suspensions and fines proves it isn't paranoia, it's precedent.
Okay, so it's documented. These aren't just isolated mistakes.
No, it shows a pattern. It shows the system has real weaknesses that are being exploited.
That's powerful validation. So with all this, the sampling bias, the moisture and math stuff, the lab shopping, the proof from regulators, what does this mean for the overall reliability of the data we see? What's the bottom line for us?
Well, it leads straight to what the source calls the data gap. And this is where it really hits home for your expectations and your wallet.
The data gap. Okay.
What's really eye-opening is when independent groups do their own testing, they take products off the shelf and retest them.
What do they find?
They consistently find big differences. The source states that most labeled THC numbers are 15–30% higher than retests.
15 to 30% higher. That's huge.
It's massive. Think about that. You're paying for, say, 25% THC, but you might only be getting 20% or even less.
That affects everything, your budget, how much you use.
Your dosage, your trust in that brand, absolutely. And it gets worse. National proficiency studies, these are tests designed to see if different labs can even get the same result from the same sample. They confirm massive variability between labs measuring the same flower.
So even if no one's cheating, two different labs might give you two totally different numbers for the exact same product.
That's exactly it. The inconsistency itself is a huge problem. So even with honest intent, it's hard to know which lab's COA is actually accurate. You're kind of left guessing.
Man. Okay, it sounds like we focus a lot on flower, which makes sense. It's common. But what about concentrates? Oils, vapes, dabs. Are they tested more reliably, or do they have their own set of issues?
Concentrates, unfortunately, often face more challenges, more loopholes. Nug Notes refers to these as concentrate loopholes.
More loopholes. Why?
Well, things like oils and vape liquids, just by their nature, have even more wiggle room than flour.
How come?
Several factors. Think about viscosity, how thick an oil is. Getting a truly representative sample from a thick, sticky batch can be tricky.
Right. Might not be mixed evenly.
Exactly. Then there's decarb math. That calculation to figure out the active THC from THCA, it can be more complex or variable with processed oils. And simple dilution tactics might be easier to pull off or harder to detect. All this makes it potentially easier to dodge contaminants or inflate potency in concentrates.
And the testing methods themselves, are they keeping up?
That's a key part of the problem. The source suggests that testing methods haven't quite caught up to the complexity. The chemistry involved in making some of these extracts is intricate, and the analytical science needed to test them robustly is still kind of evolving. So you've got science playing catch-up while the products get more complex.
Which leaves more room for inaccurate numbers.
Precisely.
Okay, wow. So let's just quickly recap the journey here. We started seeing how testing should be about safety and accuracy.
Ideal, yeah.
But then we saw the reality. Tiny, cherry-picked samples messing things up from the start.
Right, the sample bias.
Then the soft math, moisture games, rounding tricks, inflating the numbers in the lab, manipulation. And the whole system gets warped by lab shopping, where looser standards get rewarded, which is sadly backed up by actual enforcement receipts.
Yeah, the proof is there.
The Nug Notes bottom line seems pretty clear. Cannabis testing was built to protect consumers, but loopholes let hype trump honesty.
That sums it up well. And it really forces a tough question on you, the consumer. It challenges how you look at these products.
Because the COA isn't always the safety net we think it is.
Exactly. What we've talked about shows that COAs, which should be about science and safety, are often used more like marketing tools.
Scientific-looking sticker.
Pretty much. It looks rigorous, but the practices behind it can be, well, flawed. So critical thinking becomes absolutely crucial.
And just grab the highest number.
Right. When you see that data, knowing these potential issues means you should probably question it a bit more, look deeper than just that THC percentage. Your health, your money, your trust, it's all involved.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So maybe the final thought for you listening is, what would it actually take to fix this? To shift things towards real honesty over hype? Imagine if things like blind retests and tougher sampling are the norm. Like truly random samples, maybe tested by multiple labs with results compared publicly.
That would be a different world.
How would that change your decisions? Would you trust the numbers then? Would you seek out brands differently? What level of transparency do you really expect or demand as a consumer, especially if you knew the numbers are truly reliable?
Yeah, and what would that transparency do to the whole market? For consumers, sure, but also for the businesses actually trying to do it right.
It's a powerful thing to think about, isn't it? What that kind of system might look like.